immediately there, but it is gradually decreasing, we can say exponentially decreasing, and it is going closer to the bottom line or horizontal line. So here the magnetic behavior is not same as the type 1, and for that niobium tin, that alloy is there, and for that the graphs were presented, and you can observe from that graph also there are two lines available in a graph. So two lines they represents actually Hc1 and Hc2. So at a particular temperature we are having a two critical magnetic field, but if we reach to the Tc value, that is critical temperature value, then both the graphs they merge together. So that is actually from the temperature side we are destroying the superconducting state, so we don't have to worry about magnetic field. Then the third point of differentiation we can say, that is magnitude of Hc. How much magnetic field we need to apply if we want to destroy the magnetic superconducting property. Then in that case, critical value for Hc1, you can say Hc or Hc1 for type 1, that is quite lower. The examples are cited there. Zinc, it is having a 0.0053 Tesla. It's quite small. It's a normal material which is exhibiting superconducting state, and if we apply this kind of small magnetic field, then also we can destroy the superconducting state. And the same way aluminum and Pb, they are also exhibiting such kind of property that with a small magnetic field we can destroy the superconducting state. But in the case of critical type 2 superconductors, you can see the examples, and they are having a quite high critical magnetic field, that is 24.5 Tesla for Nb3Sn, and that's quite high if you compare with the type 1 superconductor. So type 2 they need a little bit stronger magnetic field to change the state from superconducting to normal. But here there is an inverse part. If we say that if external magnetic field is undesirable and if we are not applying, then also we can get a one more we can say way of observing the property of type 1 and type 2, that type 2 they are having a quite high magnetic field, high need of magnetic field, so it is not easily destroyed from the superconducting state to normal. But in the case of type 1 they are easily destroyed in this manner. Now if we go further, that this particular point will be available in the case of difference application also, at the time we need them. Okay, fourth point of difference, that factor is Meissner effect. You know that Meissner effect we already discussed previously in a previous session. Meissner effect is the exhibition of we can say diamagnetic behavior of the material. So and we also know that, or we have already proved that superconductor they are perfect diamagnetic. So if we talk about Meissner effect in the both the cases, then type 1 superconductor they exhibit perfect or complete Meissner effect. That means if you lower down the temperature below Tc, in that case it is going to expel out total magnetic field which is passing through the material. It is not allowing any magnetic field to pass through the material. But in type 2 it is not exhibiting complete Meissner effect. Then how it is behaving? If we talk about that, then in the previous slide we already talked about behavior. Just see that in a type 2, if we apply a magnetic field and if we change the temperature, then in that case what is happening? It will allow certain magnetic field to pass through between Hc1 and Hc2. So if we apply a magnetic field, then initially we can say zero magnetic field, zero applied magnetic field to Hc1, it will behave like a type 1, exactly like type 1. So it will there will be complete Meissner effect, but between Hc1 and Hc2 it will allow certain magnetic field to go through. And then if we move further, then the Hc2, then obviously it is a normal state, so it will allow more magnetic field to pass through. But between Hc1 and Hc2 it exhibits that behavior which is not perfectly superconductor as well as not perfectly normal material. Then in that case we call it vortex state. We will talk about it in a next slide, but this is a vortex state which is in between the normal state and superconducting state. So here in Meissner effect we can say type 1 perfect Meissner effect, in type 2 it's a incomplete Meissner effect or initially perfect Meissner effect, then vortex state, and then normal behavior. Okay, now fifth point of difference is application. What kind of application we get? So from the set of properties only the material is going to get applications. If we talk about type 1, it was having a quite low value of Hc. So critical value was quite low. So if we increase the applied magnetic field, under the influence of that field, the superconducting state is going to get destroyed, and that is the behavior which we are going to use. That behavior can be used in sensing the magnetic field, and that is the application available here. Type 1 superconductors, they are generally used in squids. We will talk about squids also in the part of applications. Squids is a superconducting quantum interference devices. They are generally used for identifying the magnetic field, but these magnetic fields, they are very tiny, very small, and small magnetic fields, they are not generally measured with the help of or observed with the help of compass. So magnetic compass won't be able to detect them, but as we observe that property of type 1 superconductor to change the state from superconducting to normal under the influence of small magnetic field. So squids, this is the application of type 1 superconductor. Okay, now if we compare the type 2 with type 1, we already discussed that type 2, they are little bit robust compared to the type 1. So they are rugged, they are strong. If we apply a little bit more magnetic field also, then they also not get destroyed. So here type 2, they are having a quite wide application compared to type 1. To create a super magnet, we can say superconducting magnets or stronger magnetic field with the help of currents, then in that case we can use type 2 superconductor, because we already talked about one more definition, that is critical current density. Here there is a constraint. If we increase the current more than critical current value, then in that case it is going to destroy the superconducting state. But as that definition is also coming from critical magnetic field, and the type 2 superconductors, they are having a high critical magnetic field, so from that we can derive they will have high current carrying capacity, or they will have high critical current, and from that only we are getting more magnetic field with the help of type 2 superconductor. So if we want to make out a strong magnetic field, then we can use type 2 superconductor in a construction. We will talk about that application also later on. Okay, now certain examples are cited in a factor 6. Examples, if you observe the previously also in a graph, we talked about a mercury, and then in the case of type 2 we were talking about alloy. So here the point is also like that only. If we see the point number 6, in that case type 1, the materials, they are the pure elements, they are not alloy, they are not mixture, they are not compound, but they are the pure elements. Zn, He, Hg, aluminum and Pb, they are the examples for type 1. And if we talk about a type 2, they are the alloys. There may be more than one metals, they mix together and they form a type 2 superconductors. So type 1 and type 2, we have discussed 6 points of differences. On the basis of these 6 points, you can differentiate them. According to the marks, you can write them in the examination. But if it is asked in the form of short note, the whole note you need to write down. You need to merge all these points. You need to elaborate them. With the example and diagram, you can make that interesting. So all these points you need to include in the case of short notes. Now we move further. Then in that case, we are going to observe applications. But before that, let's talk about one point was there in the case of type 2 superconductor, that is vortex state. What is vortex state, that we need to discuss. If it is asked in the examination as a state question, what is vortex state for type 2 superconductor, then you need to write down these things. Vortex state is available in the case of type 2 only. Type 1, they don't have Hc1 and Hc2 kind of behavior. So if we move further than Hc1, then in that case state is destroyed in the case of type 1. But type 2, they exhibit a little bit different property. So what is that? If we apply a magnetic field to the normal material, it will allow material to pass through. Obviously it is going to decrease the magnetic field. It depends on what kind of material is there, ferromagnetic, paramagnetic and diamagnetic, as you have already studied in standard 12th. So if you apply a magnetic field, it will allow, let's say it's allowing certain material, a magnetic field to pass through. But now if we decrease or if we lower down to temperature below critical temperature, then in that case it is going to enter into superconducting state. It is going to throw out that magnetic field from the material, and that we already know, we call it Meissner effect. But now if we increase the magnetic field more than Hc1, actually it's a forceful, we can say, encroachment of the magnetic field into the material. So it will try to pass through. So as the diagram they are shown there, if T is less than Tc and H is less than Hc, then in that case, or we can say applied magnetic field is 0, in that case what will happen? The material is perfect superconductor and it is not allowing any magnetic field to pass through. Maybe if field is applied which is less than Hc, then the field is going to go outside the material, it will not allow to pass through the material. But now if we increase the magnetic field and that strength of the applied magnetic field increased more than Hc1 value, then in that case, as it is shown in a diagram or block 2, that you can identify the small cylinders they are formed. Actually they are the channels. Because of the applied stronger magnetic field, the material needs to allow that field to pass through, but it is not giving the whole passage, but it will make a small we can say streamlines or small channels to allow those magnetic field to pass through. So this is actually small columns they are formed, and the magnetic field that is going to pass through. But when the magnetic field is going to pass through, to create a magnetic field 0 inside the material or to keep that superconducting state, the superconductor will have small currents available, and they are called supercurrents. So small supercurrents, they are actually moving around this kind of columns, and that is called vortex state of the superconducting material. So now what kind of currents they are formed and how the magnetic field they are going to pass through, that is given in this particular diagram. If you observe that it is a cross section side view of the superconducting material, if we apply the magnetic field, the field lines they are not moving straight, but they are we can say converge at a particular point and passing through the those columns or those channels, and they will come out on the other side. So previously if you recall the thing, in a normal superconducting state it was perfect diamagnetic, it was not allowing or it was not entertaining any magnetic field. But now due to the applied field which is little bit stronger, it needs to allow that magnetic field to pass through, and in that case it makes out small channels, and to keep it state as it is creating a small current loops also, that is also shown in the diagram. Small current loops are there, they are going to move there, and vortex state, that is actually we can say spiral structure. So here the small current loops they are formed, they are forming a spiral structure, and due to that the resultant magnetic field inside that, though it is passing, then the remaining portion the field remains 0. So this is what the nature of type 2 material, we can say between Hc1 and Hc2 it exhibits vortex state. So this is what vortex state of a superconducting material. But if you increase the magnetic field more than this, then in that case what will happen, the channels they are going to broaden, and it will increase up to that extent, they merge together and they will form a big path, and in that case we can say the total magnetic field is allowed to pass through, and that is not actually superconducting state, it is a normal state. So we can say if we increase the magnetic field from Hc1 to Hc2 in a vortex state, magnetic field they are going to pass through in terms of filaments, thin we can say beam, and then if we increase the applied magnetic field, they are going to become thicker, broader, and at the end they get merged, and that will be considered as a total magnetic field passing through the material. So now it is no more superconducting material, but it is a normal material. So this is type 1, type 2, and in type 2 we talked about vortex state. If we go further, we need to talk about a new topic, or actually it's our wish or our desire. In a future we want to have a solution of problems, but here as we already observe the behavior of superconductor, they don't exhibit superconductivity at a normal temperature, they start exhibiting superconductivity at Tc value, but those Tc values they are very small, so that's a trouble. Gaining Tc value in a normal circumstances is very difficult. We can get it in a laboratories, but if you want to use it in a daily life, then we need to take out those things from laboratory to outside. And in environment we are not going to get we can say 4.2 Kelvin, 30 Kelvin, 40 Kelvin, such kind of things. It's very difficult to arrange, or that won't be, if we are able to arrange, then also it is a limited area. But if you want to find out a solution in a we can say larger manner and for the whole world, then in that case we need to manipulate the things, and we need to have a we can say superconductors at a normal temperature. So this is the one desire, and on that on the same line the people they are also working. So here we are going to talk about that. Initially it was the idea or the things were arising from this particular event. George Barnard and Alex Muller, they have started this scenario. Actually they were trying to find out a material those who are having those who are exhibiting superconductivity, and in the same case they identified one material. The lanthanum family is there, lanthanum, barium, copper oxide ceramics. So these ceramics in 1986 they were studying the magnetic property and superconducting property of this particular ceramics, and they identified at 30 Kelvin they exhibit superconductivity. If you remember, in our introduction we talked about the Camerlingons. He started the superconductivity concept of superconductivity, but if you remember the critical temperature value for mercury in the case of introduction, then it was 4.2 Kelvin. So the scenario was changed, the trend was changed now, and it is said that 30 Kelvin we can achieve the superconducting state at little bit higher temperature also, that is about 30 Kelvin. But this was just started of this particular we can say discovery or search, and in that case we are moving further, and right now we are at we can say quite par. We are having a superconductor, but obviously in a limited we can say amount or limited setup, we are having a superconductor at a normal temperature, normal room temperature also. So we'll talk about it, but this is the starting of we can say a high temperature superconductor. Now this is the we can say a definition of low temperature superconductor, how the high temperature and low temperature superconductor they are segregated. So definition says that the material, those who are exhibiting superconductivity less than 30 Kelvin or we can say below 30 Kelvin, they are called low temperature superconductors. And if you talk about material, those who are having a superconducting state at a higher temperature, about we can say 78 Kelvin, that is actually transition temperature or we can say boiling point of liquid nitrogen. So at around that particular temperature, the material, if they exhibit superconductivity, they are called high temperature superconductor. And after that several families they were identified, several materials they were identified to show or exhibit superconducting state, and the examples they are given like cuprate, copper oxides and other material, they mix together, compounds were formed, they also exhibit high TS, the high temperature superconductors superconducting property. And the other two families, they are BSCCO, that is also there, and then one more, that is barium copper oxide, that is YBCO, yttrium barium copper oxide, that is YBCO. These are the family, different family, bismuth family, yttrium family, and as we already talked about lanthanum family initially. So these were the different compositions. They are also exhibiting superconductivity, but they are exhibiting superconductivity more than 30 Kelvin or nearby 78 Kelvin. So they are considered as a high temperature superconductor. Along with this family, same as copper compound, we are having a few more ferrous compound also, they are also exhibiting superconductivity. So if we talk about the structure and formation of them, here it is discussed in this particular slide. YBCO,